Hey everyone, and welcome back. So today's video is by request. So a while back I did a video on how to replace the relay for your deep freezer in case it ever stopped working on you, and that could be a possible $10 or $15 fix that might save you from going out and buying a new $250 appliance. But one of the things I didn't show is how to get the cover off to expose the relay to replace it, and it is particularly difficult, and I've had several requests from people to show how to do that. So today I'm going to do a video on that. Okay, step one, always make sure your power is unplugged, which it is. So I'm gonna get this out of the way. Now what I need to do is remove these two screws so I can get this cover panel out of my way. Okay, this next step is kind of optional. You don't have to remove this, but if you want a little bit more space to work inside, I suggest doing it. So if you want to remove your thermostat control in the front, on my particular freezer, all I have to do is there's some push tabs on the side. Press in on them, work my way down, and there should be 3 of them total. That last one's a little difficult to reach. There we go. Sort of. There we go. Alright, and now you can pull it out. So the 3 tabs I'm pressing in on are right here, and on the opposite side it just hooks into the edge of the metal. You'll have only a little bit of room to be able to do this because the cords are only so long, but at this point, if you need to get it completely out of the way, you can go ahead and remove the wiring, and then this will just set off to the side. All right, next thing I suggest removing is this right here. If I remember correctly, this should be a capacitor. And this is a little bit difficult because it's pretty firmly in there, but you want to do, I've already actually removed mine, is you're gonna rock it hard to one side, and it's gonna snap, and it's gonna sound like it's breaking, and then you need to go to the opposite side. So you have a very stiff tabs right here. If you had help, you could have someone lift the deep freezer, and then you might be able to squeeze it at the same time and get it out. But unless your deep freezer is completely empty and you have a second pair of hands on hand, this is probably the best bet. Again, just rocking it hard to one side, you'll hear a very loud snap. It's going to sound like it's breaking, and then go to the opposite side and you'll be free and nothing will be broken. Okay guys, now for the part that everyone was asking for, which is removal of the relay cover, which is this right here. So I've removed the capacitor so I can get to these screws, and then I have more ability to get my hand in here and get to the actual housing itself. And then as far as removing the thermostat cover on the front, that allows me to get a screwdriver in through the front if necessary to be able to pry onto the housing. Now the first thing I need to do is remove these 2 screws, and they cover the electrical wiring. So I'm going to remove these. Pull this little piece out of the way, and now my wires are slightly exposed. Now, next step, this is where there is a diagram on the front, but it's probably very difficult to see when you're initially looking in there. But what you can do is you take a screwdriver, and this is where it can be helpful, having the front exposed. And then I'm gonna pry on the front, and just like that, if you saw that little bit of wiggle, it started to come off right there on the front, right here up on the top, okay? And I can expose it a bit more. But this is probably where a lot of people are getting stuck. Now it's like it doesn't want to move anymore. So what you need to do is you actually need to send it that direction. So bring your flap blade again, and there is a little tab right there. All right, and now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pry on that, and you see how I pushed it back towards the deep freezer itself. I'm gonna pull, and this is where it gets a little bit wiggly. All right. And just like that, it comes out. And there's the diagram I was talking about. And it kind of tries to explain it. It shows, applying pressure to the tab, and then it shows an arrow pointing, which would be towards the deep freezer. It shows an arrow pointing away. So again, that was the initial apply the screwdriver, apply a little bit of leverage, that rocks it back. That helps pull it away, exposes this tab, and then by pressing here, I push it towards the deep freezer, and then it came off. Okay, at this point, I'm just gonna go in reverse and put everything back the way it was. If you need to replace your relay, I'm not gonna cover that in this video since I already have a video covering the replaceable the relay in here. So I'm ready to put this back on. So let's assume that you've already replaced your relay and you've done all your electrical connections and you're ready to go back in. So we're gonna reach back in here. I'm gonna try to line it up as best I can. The big issue we're gonna be dealing with are the electric cords, but they feed through, I'm gonna pull it back out. They're gonna feed through this gap right here, and then they're gonna drop down to their respective locations. So I'm gonna come in, feed the cables through, drop the white one, which leads to the capacitor right here. And then my next ones are my black and white. They're gonna drop in the next one. And then the ground is gonna drop into that third one. And now I'm going to very carefully, oh, there we go. There is a tab, I should mention. The same tab right here is essentially on the back side. So make sure that you have the cover going with that tab on the inside of the cover, because otherwise you're not going to install it correctly. All right, so getting the cover back on is much easier than getting it off. Again, you just need to make sure that those two tabs, you got the one on the front, one on the back, the case is on the outside of both of them. And then what I find is the best way is just kind of come in from the top and then press it down in. You'll hear a nice little click or a snap, and it'll be locked in place. And then if your wires happen to come out of those areas, then you just drop them back into their respective locations. Again, the thick white cable is going to be the first slot that's open, and then your hot and neutral are going to be in the middle one, and then your ground in the last one. And now you're ready to reinstall the cover for those cables. All right, it's going to look like that. Okay, double check, nice and secure. Now I'm going to put this back in. Again, it's just going to rock in, and it's probably going to make the same sounds upon removal. Yep, all right, fully secure. So it has a little bit of wiggle, but that's okay. That's how it should be. All right, next we're going to reinstall the thermostat control. So just pull our wires back in, and I need to hook these tabs onto this lip as I do this. So that first, and then push it back in, snaps back into place. And the last piece, just put our cover back on. So again, 3 tabs down at the bottom, drop them in on the inside here, press it in, and now use your screwdriver to tighten it down. All right, everyone, that is it. That is how you get the cover off for exposing the relay to be able to replace it if that is what you're attempting to do to try to fix your deep freezer. So I hope you guys haven't given up on replacing those relays. If you've been waiting a little bit for this video, it's not particularly difficult, but some things are going to sound like they are breaking or snapping in the process. Don't worry, they are not, so long as you are applying the screwdriver in those correct locations and applying just a little bit of leverage, because it doesn't take much to do it. If any of you have a request for a certain video, then leave them in comments on any of my videos, and as I see them, I will try to get to them and elaborate with a video if possible. All right, that's all for now. We'll see you next time on the DIY Grunt.